What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best Greatsword builds in New World Season 10. This new update has shaken up the meta with the new sets, reworked perks, and some of the wildest artifact synergies we've ever seen. No matter if you're playing Wars, OPR, PvE content, or the new Nighthaven raid, the meta is completely evolving. So today we are breaking down different builds, from glass cannon assassins to bow blasters to greatsword berserkers, and ultimate raid damage dealers. I'll walk you through each build's playstyle, their key perks, gear choices, and set combinations so you can top the damage charts from day 1 of the new season. Have you ever made a build so filthy that people actually log off mid-fight? Well, that's exactly what this greatsword and the hatchet combo does in Season 10. It's fast, it's ruthless, and it turns you into a walking blender with a dead fish. You're not surviving, but thriving off the chaos. Every swing, every dash, and every hit will push the enemy closer to uninstall the game, and it works both for PvE and PvP. It's built to shred through the healers, dodge through the damage, and turn the battlefield into a highlight reel. Let's start with the attributes. The 350 dexterity breakpoint is the magic number. It unlocks the extra crit damage and faster burst potential. The 150 strength is not just a filler. It adds the raw base power that pushes both the greatsword and the hatchet's damage to disgusting levels. You get constant crits from the dex scaling and heavy hitting multipliers from the strength. The 25 focus is your sustained buffer, keeping stamina and the regen flowing, while the light armor ensures that you can reposition faster than anyone can react. Overall, you are a duelist and an assassin rolled into one, so no wasted stats and no dead weight. Let's take a look at the Greatsword 3. This is your executioner's tool. Relentless Rush, Roaring Rupture, and the Steadfast Strike are the 3 core skills, and together they make you a moving storm. Relentless Rush is your engage and disengage button, by letting you dash through the targets, deal massive cleave, and reset positioning instantly. Roaring Rupture is your taunt, fortify, and the grid generation all at once. You slam the ground, create shockwaves, and watch the screen fill with stagger icons. It's not just control, it's dominance. Steadfast Strike does it all together with the sustain and the cooldown recovery. You pull enemies in, then deal double hits and heal through the pressure like a vampire that refuses to die. You compare this with the passives from Defiance Tree. Keep your Fortify uptime rolling, maintain the Onslaught stance for bonus damage, and never let your grit drop too low. And then on the other hand, switching to the Hatchet, and this turns the tempo up to 11. Berserker, Raging Torrent, and the Social Distancing are your tools of destruction. You can pop Berserker and you instantly gain movement speed, damage, and the self-healing. Then Raging Torrent is your burst. It will give you 5 lightning fast hits that erase low HP targets and activate the Moonstone Ruined Glass or the Opal bonuses for massive scaling. And then Social Distancing gives you that slick gap closer and safety valve, letting you kite when the cooldowns are down, or punish people trying to escape. The synergy between the Berserker and the Raging Torrent is insane. You pop Torrent right as your Moonstone triggers, and you'll delete anything standing in front of you before the cooldowns even blink. Then for armor, we stay with full light. You want the dodge roll, the agility, and the bonus 20% damage modifier. That makes this build hit like a truck. We run Enchanted Ward and refreshing on every piece to keep cooldowns low and your uptime high. If you can get slash conditioning or the freedom, then mix it in, and that's even better as you will need that CC resistance when charging into the clumps. Then the Creed boots are the secret weapon for this build, which will give us bonus crit damage and weaken effects on the backstabs by turning every flank into a lethal ambush. And then for the gems we go with the opals. Next up, your jewelry should focus on aggression. On Amulet, get Divine, Health, and Shirking in power for the full offense and the full uptime. Then the ring runs Hearty, Leeching, and the slash damage or the Keen Awareness, whatever boosts your crit consistency the most. Then for the earring, Refreshing Toast, Fortifying Toast, and Regeneration gives you the sustain without slowing you down. And then the Heart Rune, the Stalwart form, is all the way to go, as it gives you Fortify, great stability, and pure momentum in chaotic fights. Then the rotation is where the build shines. We open with the Roaring Rupture to gain Fortify and set the stage. Then dash in with the Relentless Rush, heavy cancel into the Steadfast Strike to heal and reset, and then instantly swap to the Hatchet, activate Berserker, then Raging Torrent for your burst, then Social Distancing to chase or the kite, and then go back to the Greatsword for the finisher. Overall, every skill here is the pressure, and every dodge leads to another punish. This is a Greatsword with sword and shield hybrid tank build. In a simple summary, this is a powerhouse of a combination that gives you both massive DPS and a complete battlefield control. You're running 200 constitution and around 300 strength. That puts you right at the heart of the tank meta for Season 10. The Greatsword gives you the pure tread and the grit uptime, while the sword and shield provides team-wide buffs, powerful debuffs and personal sustain that makes you feel unkillable even in the thickest pulls. At 300 constitution, you will gain full grit on your heavy and the light melee attacks, which is a massive quality of life bonus that lets you keep swinging through the stunts and the knockdowns. You also get stronger healing from the consumables, more base health and 10% extra armor across the board, and that's why this breakpoint is the golden rule for the tanks. And then the remaining strength ensures that your damage and the threat generation will stay competitive. On the Greatsword, you're running Relentless Rush, Calamity Counter and the Roaring Rupture. This combination makes the Greatsword a perfect offhand weapon for both control and mitigation. Relentless Rush gives you mobility, cleave and instant engage that helps you to tag enemies before they even reach your backline. Then the Calamity Counter is the reactive core of this weapon. A parry not only reduces incoming damage, but also triggers a massive counter strike and cleanses debuffs when timed right. Then there's the Roaring Rupture, your crowd control nuker. It taunts, weakens and applies grid generation, while giving you Fortify. This skill alone can stabilize entire rooms of mobs or lock down players in PvP. For passives, we want the crosscut fortification and the onslaught stance, so you're gaining damage reduction while dishing out non-stop shreds. And then switching to the sword and shield, and this is where your utility truly shines. This setup here is the Whirling Blade, Upheaval and the Shield Rush. Whirling Blade gives you AoV cleave with the built-in rend, which means it shreds armor and builds aggro fast. Then Upheaval, borrowed from the Greatsword's team, will scale beautifully with the Shanked and guarantee a burst of shred while resetting some cooldowns through the passives. Then Shield Rush of course is your engage and control ability. It applies weaken and slow even through the blocks. And when paired with the Fortifying Shield Rush, you gain 25% Fortify instantly. Combine that with the Defender's Resolve when needed, and you've got layers of mitigation that stack well into the 60 to 70% range during very high endgame content. Now let's talk gear. You're going full heavy armor. And then Enchanted Ward and Refreshing on every piece are non-negotiable. You want 5 stacks of the Slash condition to hard counter Great Axes and the Greatsword damage. And then the Vital Synergy can be added for the extra group sustain if you are running coordinated content. For the chest, you can slot your weapon specific perks like the Suddenring Upheaval or the Contagion Upheaval if you can. And if you're using a Greatsword's artifact like the Butcherer, then it's an excellent fit for this build. It brings the raw damage and the bleed pressure that helps you to keep aggro while charging your Heart Rune faster. Next, on jewelry, the amulet should have health, protection and divine or refreshing, depending on your comfort. The ring should run hearty, leeching and the keen awareness, which gives you better stamina sustain and a bit of self-healing on every swing. For the earring, refreshing regeneration and the spite are the dream combo. They will let you tank longer without ever relying on healers. And now for rotation. In defensive setups, we open with a Shield Rush to apply debuffs, then pop the Stone Form or Defender's Resolve for the safety, then Upheaval to pull cooldowns together. You can chain into the heavy and light attack combos for the grid uptime and use Roaring Rupture whenever adds will start flooding in. And then for the offensive rotation, we open this time with the Greatsword, so Relentless Rush in, trigger Calamity Counter to absorb damage, and swap to the Sword and Shield, then use the Whirling Blade then the Upheaval to spike damage and hold aggro, and from here just spam light and basic attacks, and repeat the same rotation all over again. Have you ever wanted to kill enemies before they even know what happened? Well, that's exactly the core principle of the Greatsword and the Bow, which is a build that is made for dominating in the open world and one-shotting in the group fights. You're not just another DPS, you're an executioner at range and a storm up close. No matter if you're tearing through the clumps or melting bosses from a distance, this build thrives on precision, timing and chaos. Then for attributes, we get 300 strength, 200 dexterity and 25 focus. The strength gives your Greatsword its devastating cleave and the heavy hitting base power, while dexterity fuels your bow crit potential and burst scaling. And then focus provides just enough sustain for the long fights, letting your stamina and the regen flow even when things get messy. The balance between the strength and dexterity will create a monster that hits hard in melee and snipes with deadly precision at range. So let's go over the Greatsword tree. Relentless Relentless Rush, Roaring Rupture, and the Steadfast Check all are the backbones of this build. Relentless Rush is your engage, disengage, and repositioning tool all in one. You'll dash through the targets, deal cleave damage, and reset your stance before they even realize what happened. Roaring Rupture is your setup. It's the taunt, that fortify, and the grid generation that turns every pull into a slaughter. When you slam the ground with a shockwave, then it locks enemies in chaos, which lets you dictate the pace of every fight. Then Steadfast Check ties everything together with a sustain and control. You'll pull enemies in, then heal through the pressure and reset cooldowns to stay in the fight indefinitely. The Serenity Greatsword is the crown jewel of this build. Without it, the Greatsword's DPS will feel incomplete, but with it, you become an engine of grid, sustain, and damage that refuses to die. I recommend to keep your onslaught stance active for consistent pressure, and combine heavy attacks between abilities to maintain the range and maximum uptime. And then for the bow tree, we're using the Poison Shot, Rapid Shot, and Explosive Arrow. Poison Shot sets up the battlefield with a spreading dot that softens entire groups, and if multiple bow users are around, then coordinate so that only one player invests in the extra points for the stacking dots efficiently. Then Explosive Arrow will follow as your burst opener, detonating clumps and applying instant AoV damage. And then Rapid Shot is your finisher. He will give you 3 piercing shots that trigger your Keenly Empowered and the Vicious perks by shredding through the targets while scaling perfectly with both strength and dexterity. Penetrating Rapid Shot, Disdain, Infliction, and Keenly Empowered make the perfect perk combo by turning your bow into a machine of consistent crits and ticking destruction. Then our armor setup is straightforward. We want to go with the medium category. You want agility, dodge roll, and the extra damage bonus. Every piece should carry Enchanted Ward and Refreshing, or reduce cooldowns and improve survivability. Relentless Freedom is another great option for breaking out of the crowd control, while Health gives you the sustain buffer you need for the longer engagements. For Jewelry, your amulet should carry protection, health, and either divine or empowered, which is pretty much a mix of sustain and offensive pressure. Then Ring should have Hearty, Leeching, and the Keen Awareness to keep your crits and the lifesteal consistent. Then the Earring should focus on Refreshing Toast, and either Empowering Toast or the Nimble, for smoother rotations and better sustain through the constant ability use. And now let's go over the rotation. For maximum DPS, we want to begin with the Dodge, then Poison Shot, then Dodge again, then Explosive Arrow, then Dodge again, and then Rapid Shot. Then we swap to the Greatsword and use Relentless Rush straight into the enemy line. Then follow that up with the Roaring Rupture to group up enemies and apply Fortify. Then use the Skyward Slash if you want the extra rend and to re-enter the onslaught stance. And from here, just focus on heavy attacks and maintaining pressure while refreshing your rend whenever possible.